Hey, Squiz Kids, hands up if you're hungry. All right, that's a lot of you, so if your tummy's rumbling already, grab a snack because today's podcast is all about food. Specifically, a game-changing invention that millions of people slurp up every day. We're celebrating Momofuku Ando, who was born this week way back in 1910. And in 1958, after months of trial and error, he created something delicious, cheap, and super easy to make. And odds are it's in your cupboard at home at the moment, the world's first ever instant noodles. They were chicken ramen, by the way. So grab your chopsticks, your favourite bowl, maybe even a cup of hot water, because we're diving into the story of how noodles changed the world.
This is a Squiz Kids podcast. Your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you.
If you're in China, you'll have a long life if you slurp them. And no, Marco Polo did not introduce them to Italy. This is your Squiz Kids Shortcut to Noodles, the podcast where we dive into the who, what, when, where, why and how of the big news stories. I'm Amanda Bauer.
And I'm Bryce Corbett.
Bryce, you might be asking yourself, noodles a big news story?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not exactly. Maybe I was a little hungry when I was thinking about what to do this week, but noodles really are a big deal.
Okay.
Not only are they eaten on every continent in the world, not only are they one of the world's most popular foods, but the types of noodles eaten in each place and the history behind the dishes tell us a lot about the culture that they come from.
Okay.
We're going to learn a little more about some cultures by looking at their noodles.
We sure will, because we're going to take you through why it is that we humans love noodles so much, where in the world we can eat noodles, and I think I'll be surprised by this one, when we can eat them.
Listen carefully. There's a squiz at the end.
Why?
Bryce, one of the reasons we love noodles as a species is that they're one of the most inexpensive and common foods in the world, and they've been around a really, really long time.
Oh yeah? How long?
Well, a few years back, a team of archaeologists, they're the people who, study ancient human history by digging things up and analysing them, they found a bowl in China that contained leftovers of 4,000-year-old noodles.
Oh, 4,000-year-old noodles. That would have stunk.
Yeah, well, I think they're probably gone past the stinky stage. They're definitely not delicious anymore.
No, true.
But all over the world, people do love noodles for the fact that they fill you up. Mm-hmm. They can combine with lots of different sauces and flavours, and they're pretty easy to cook.
Love it. So where in the world can we go to eat noodles?
Where?
Bryce, I love it when you do Spin the Globe on Squiz Kids Today. So I thought we might do it on Shortcuts just this once too.
Okay.
So will you give it a spin? Let's see where we land and whether we can eat noodles there.
Sure. Off we go. We've landed in China. Well, that makes sense, if they've been eating noodles there for over 4,000 years.
And there are hundreds of types of noodles in China and thousands of ways of preparing them.
Yum.
China is a really big country. It's about 24% bigger than Australia, and it has 1.4 billion more people than we do.
Wow.
Each region has its own noodle specialties, and there are noodle dishes for special occasions too.
Ah.
So yi mein is a type of noodle made from wheat flour and eggs, and it's known as long noodles. So they're really common at Chinese New Year and birthday celebrations, and the person cooking them will never cut them or break them. So they cook them in these big long noodles. If you can eat them without actually biting through and breaking the noodle, it's considered good luck. Which means, Bryce, that it's okay to slurp those ones, which is great news for those of us still working on our table manners.
That makes me think, though, of the scene in the cartoon movie Lady and the Tramp, which I loved, where the two dogs are slurping down the same long strand of spaghetti. On the subject of which, is spaghetti a noodle?
Well, let's give the globe a spin and see if we can get to Italy.
Whoa, wait a second, I've got a huge plate of spaghetti and meatballs in front of me, but I'm not in Italy.
That's right, you're in America because this is the place that spaghetti and meatballs was invented. About 4 million Italians moved to America between 1880 and 1920. And when they arrived, they went from having to spend 3/4 of their money on food in Italy just to sort of stay alive to just 1/4 of their budget when they got to America. So with more money, they could afford more meat, and so they invented meatballs.
Right.
Okay, let's spin again.
Oh, yum. Is that what I think it is?
You betcha. It's one of Thailand's national dishes, pad thai.
Yum.
Now, because we're in a place where rice grows much better than wheat, most noodles eaten in Thailand are made from rice. Rice noodles are also much more common in Vietnam, southern China, Burma, the Philippines, tropical places with lots of water where rice grows well.
Right. And is pad thai a really old traditional dish in Thailand?
Compared with those 4,000-year-old noodles in China, pad thai has not been around very long at all. It seems to have been invented around the 1940s by the Prime Minister of Thailand.
Now, why did the Prime Minister of Thailand invent a dish of stir-fried noodles, veggies, eggs and peanut? I mean, not that I'm complaining.
No, definitely not. Well, one theory goes is that there was a rice shortage in Thailand at the time, but rice noodles were seen as a Chinese food and Thai people weren't that keen on eating them. So the PM created this new recipe and then the government promoted it as a Thai national dish to get people eating it.
Ah, well, whether that's what really happened or not, I'm very glad it exists for me to
Me
eat.
too.
Now, let's spin that globe one more time.
Finally, we made it to Italy.
Woohoo!
Now, we can't stay for too long, so sadly, we won't be able to sample every kind of pasta. According to one book I saw, Bryce, there are 1,300 different names for different kinds of pasta here in Italy.
Oh my gosh, and I would happily eat every single one of them, even though that would take a long time. Now, I've always heard that the Italian explorer Marco Polo went to China in the 13th century and brought noodles back with him, and that was how the whole Italian love affair with pasta began.
Yeah, Bryce, I got Squizzy the news hound to help me check this one, and it turns out that's a myth.
Oh.
The type of wheat that's used in Italian pasta, Durham wheat, was introduced to Italy about 400 years before Marco Polo went on his trip by Arabs from Libya.
Right.
That whole Marco Polo story was apparently made up as a way to try to get people more interested in pasta in the United States.
Amanda, my spinning hand is tired. I normally only have to do one each day. But if I could manage more, where else in the world could we have landed and eaten noodles?
Oh, where couldn't we have landed and eaten noodles? Although I am really full too. But we could have had ramen in Japan.
Oh, yum.
We could, right? Or we could have gone to Afghanistan and had thick noodles in a tomato-based broth with spices, chili, beef, loads of vegetables, topped with yogurt.
Yum.
We could have headed off to Greece and had lobster meat on a bed
Ooh,
of spaghetti-like noodles.
Yum.
We could have had pho, which is a noodle soup from Vietnam.
Yes.
We could have had sopa criolla in Peru, which has meat and onion and garlic and chili and tomato and egg and milk and noodles so thin that they're called angel's hair.
Oh, lovely.
I could keep going, Bryce, but my stomach is starting to hurt.
What a shame we can only eat noodles for lunch and dinner. Unless...
Are you asking when it's appropriate to eat noodles?
When?
Well, Bryce, the answer is always.
Woohoo!
Noodles can be eaten for breakfast. In Hong Kong, Cantonese fried noodles are a really typical brekkie. In Japan, you can slurp on breakfast udon noodles with a really delicate broth and a 7-minute egg.
Yum.
And there are also interesting recipes I saw on the internet for ways to cook eggs and bacon with noodles too.
Okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fantastic. But surely not dessert.
Oh, why not? I found a blog on SBS Food, which I'll pop in your episode notes, which is going to keep me busy in the kitchen for ages. There was this raspberry ramen white chocolate rocky road and a sweet Malaysian street snack, which is made with jelly noodles.
Wow.
The list goes on and on.
Oh, now I'm hungry again. Where did I put that globe?
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. In which country did archaeologists find the remains of 4,000-year-old noodles? That's right, it was China.
Question number 2. Where was the simple noodle dish of spaghetti and meatballs invented? Yep, it was the United States of America.
Da-da. Question number 3. Which dish was supposedly invented by Thailand's Prime Minister? You got it, it's Pad Thai.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us as we explored the delicious who, what, where, how, when and why of noodles.
Now get out there and have a most noodly day.
Over and out.